Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Providence Zen Center for our Sunday Dharma program. We are at the question and answers and Dharma talk portion of our program, and so thank you all so much for coming and joining us for today. This morning, giving the introductory talk is going to be our very own Gary. Gary is an electrical engineer and Dharma teacher here in the Quantum School of Zen, who's been practicing with the Zen Center since September 11th. Gary is married and does technical support at his job, but has been picking up some more duties as a data scientist and is one of our veteran speakers. And then answering questions today is Zen Master Tan Gong. Zen Master Tan Gong, José Ramírez birth name, is the co-guiding teacher of the Providence Zen Center and the guiding teacher of the Delaware Valley Zen Center, which he helped found in the spring of 1999. He began studying with Zen Master Dae Kwang at the Providence Zen Center in 1994, receiving Inka the full authorization to teach in 2009, and finally Dharma transmission from Zen Master Dae Kwang on April 1st, 2023. He looks very grumpy about that. As an industrial statistician, he works closely with engineers and scientists to help them make sense of data. He lives here in Rhode Island with his wife and daughter. So, thank you both for your talks this morning.
As most Dharma talks, I have a hard time coming up with a topic, or at least a new topic and stuff like that. So that's, this Dharma talk in particular, was like all week, I just really couldn't think of anything worthwhile saying or new. I mean, my last couple of Dharma talks were on artificial intelligence and how it's going to replace my job and how cool I think it is technically and stuff like that. But I didn't want to do that. So I kind of think of, something else. And I ended up talking to David, hiding over there in the corner. Wednesday night, as we were leaving, we're in the parking lot and we're chatting, and I told him, I'm having a hard time and stuff like that, and talked about something I was thinking of giving a Dharma talk on. Namely, I went to a nudist camp when I was 14 years old for a day, and there was a lot of teaching involved with that, and that didn't seem right. And then he gave some great advice in that when he gives a Dharma talk, which, by the way, I think are outstanding. He really sets the bar high. To just kind of think of some of the fundamental teachings of, holding, grasping, attachment, big question, all that kind of stuff. So, okay. So on the way home, I'm like stressed. I'm like, God, I've been coming here for like 23 years. I can't think of a Dharma thing for a Dharma talk. I suck at meditation instruction. I can't sit for any length of time. My mind's all over the freaking place. I don't remember the words to our chants. I'm, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This is attachment. This is holding. This is, more importantly, this is checking, what we call checking. So I'm like, okay, shake it off. What am I doing right now? Oh, I'm driving. So I started the drive. I was still driving all along, ignoring people in the sidewalk, crosswalks and stuff, but it just dawned on me that I should just be driving, which is one of the things that I find I learned here as a teacher, from the teachings rather, is that just noticing things, helps. We do a lot of meditation practice and stuff just so we notice when we go off in the weeds, and we can bring ourselves back. So for the kind of the general topic of my Dharma talk, the title, I guess it could be called The Great Question, because I don't seem to have one. But I thought a lot about it. So why did I choose the Great Question to talk about? Mostly, again, because I don't seem to have one. But yet we talk about it a lot here. We talk about it in the teachings, we talk about it during Dharma talks, we talk about it when people walk in the door, and mostly we talk about it, or at least I think anyway, is during meditation instruction. I'm a Dharma teacher here, so I have to do meditation instruction when needed, a couple times a month. So when I give meditation instructions, I try to stick closely to the teachings. I have a couple of things that I do that I add from a personal point of view. Probably shouldn't pay that because they might stop monitoring me now when I give meditation instruction. But when it comes to the, when it comes to the part of where I say, what will help you be present in the moment? Meditation instruction, we teach how to hold their hands, how to sit, how to keep your back, how to keep your eyes, how to keep your hands, how to stand up if you're uncomfortable and stuff. But we also talk about, how to keep your mind, present in the moment. And there's different things you can do. You can have a mantra. You can pray. Some people pray. Some people have a one-word mantra. Some people have a phrase. Some people count their breaths. And then the other one being is that they have a great question. What am I, etc. I've never, ever been able to attach to that for some reason. I mention it because it's part of the teach meditation instruction, but I don't relate to it. Partly because I don't care who I am, and that's not a negative thing. I don't want to go down a rat hole. I don't want to go down a path that has no answers. Which, why I'm in a Zen Center now is completely the whole rabbit hole, no answer thing is part of the teaching. And so forth. One of the things that I kind of add to the meditation instructions is that I also approach things from a scientific point of view. I'm an engineer. I took an artificial intelligence class way back when I was going to school for my master's degree at Northeastern. So that was a long time ago. That was like 1985 or something like that. So that's probably, 30 or 40 years, about 40 years ago at least, right? And back then, neural networks was just at its infancy. We spent like the whole semester determining how you can detect an edge on a box. Box corners me, how you can detect that edge. The whole semester. And we come a long way since that. There's been cycles and stuff, but right now we're in the midst of a very big boom in artificial intelligence. They're equating it to basically the discovery of fire. I have various emotions on that and stuff like that, but that's not the point of the Dharma talk. So a lot of times during meditation instruction, people ask me, how long you been coming here, and why do you come here? Seems like that topic's coming up a lot lately. I don't know if it's because around the time I started is in September, or just that's a question that people are more interested in, or maybe they're starting to think about coming here for kind of the same reason I may have started coming here a long time ago. So I kind of want to quickly go through that. Why did I start coming here? Well, I started coming here at 9/11, 2001. I actually started coming a couple of weeks before that. But I started coming because I was very troubled with the world at the time. There was a lot of stuff going on in the Middle East. There was a lot of stuff going on in politics. That was the Gore, George Bush era. There was a lot of wars going on at the time. Sound familiar? So I just started thinking that there's probably something else for me. I was raised Catholic. I went to a Catholic school. I agree with a lot of the teachings in Catholic school, but there was always something a little bit off for me mostly in terms of the fact that I always looked at the Bible as a book of teachings and a book of fables to teach people. They have morals and they have great outcomes and stuff, but I never took them as carved in stone, and that was always got me in trouble in Catholic school. I got hit a lot. Probably deserved to get hit, but I got hit quite often. As a kind of a quick side note on how often I used to get hit was, and this is completely off the side. It was an old school, and it had the windows that had the ropes in them with the counterweights, the big long windows. And as you lift the window, there's a rope tied to it, and it went on the inside of the wall with a big lead weight. Well, I was opening the window, and the rope snapped, and the window came down on my left hand, broke all four of these fingers, and I'm swearing like crazy. I'm yelling, and then Num came up to me and started slapping me. because I was swearing. And then finally she looked down, and realized the situation. And then, she got the window open, just enough to where I could get my hand out. Like I said, I broke all four of my fingers. So anyway, that was kind of an interesting experiment. But it's not the topic of my conversation. So I started coming here intentionally just because of, again, the troubled times. I was looking for something else. I went to a bookstore. It was a Borders. It was called Borders. It was in North Attleboro. And they had the table where you could get a book for $5 or $3 or whatever the heck it was. And one of them was a great study for a religion class. You would look at that first page of every religion and kind of get what the fundamental aspects of it was. And all the belief-based systems with God, like Judaism and Catholicism, they were the same. But it came to Buddhism, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting. So I read that chapter, word for word. And when I got to the end of that chapter, I was like, holy shit, this Buddha guy, he nailed it. And, he literally nailed it. He explained everything I need to know. Didn't try to explain where you come from before you're born. Didn't try to explain where you go when you die. He just, this moment. This moment. It's the only real thing. It's the only thing that we have. That's another thing that just stuck with me. So I decided I'm going to search down Buddhism. I found out about this place. I rode by a few times, peeking through the bushes. I drove through once. The people with big wide hats on in the garden and all that stuff. I drove through. I drove back, and I found out they had a yoga class on Sunday morning, like it is now. So I signed up for the yoga class, but I'm here for a mission, to check out the Zen Center, not to do yoga. So I'm like doing yoga, and stuff like that. But I'm listening and I'm walking around and stuff like that. And I passed Zen Master Dae Kwang sitting way back there in the middle, just kind of walk by and stuff like that. But one of the things that really got me was they were chanting. So they had some sort of a retreat going on at the time, and they were chanting. But I couldn't understand the words. They're like, I'm like, that doesn't sound like English and stuff like that. And a lot of times when they're chanting in this room and you're out there, all you hear is the low frequency stuff. The high frequency stuff gets absorbed in the carpets and so on and so forth. So that kind of got me. And then Tuesday, September 11th, 2001 happened. 9/11 happened. And I came the next day. So that Wednesday night was the first time I came, pushed me through the door. I planned on coming anyway, but it sounds great to use 9/11 as a thing. I planned on coming anyway, and we didn't do our sitting practice that night. What we did was Kwan Se and Bolsa chanting, and we walked around the whole night. Through the mats, through here, out there, just all night, just did Kwan Se and Bolsa chanting. That kind of got me here. Now, what kind of kept me coming here was, I don't know, really. I came here, my main reason for coming here was to find a religion. I didn't want to be an atheist because it sounds negative and it was an uncomfortable feeling and stuff like that. But I want to be a Buddhist. The more I read about it, the more I wanted to be a Buddhist. So the first night I came, like I said, we did chanting, and then I heard about the fact that we have to go for interviews with teachers and stuff. I'm like, Kangan interviews, they call them. So I'm going to go for next week. Next Wednesday, I'm going to go. Because I was talking to somebody, and they said, that's something you can do. And I started preparing for it. I read the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. And I was really stuck on the Four Noble Truths. I think we should only have three. The third and the fourth one are kind of the same, or the second and the third one are kind of the same. One's the sensation of it, and then the other one's the realization of it, blah, 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 blah. So I go for an interview, and I walk into the room, and Zen Master Dae Kwang right there is sitting there, and I go in, he tells me how he bowing, I do the thing on the cushion, and I start going, the Four Noble Truths, and I'm stuck, I'm on the third one, the Eightfold Path, but the Four Noble Truths, he goes, we don't talk about that shit here. I'm like, what? I mean, it's a Buddhist monastery. He says, no, we don't talk about that stuff. I think he used the word crap, but I flowered it up a bit. So, he went through what what Zen Master Sun Song teachers don't know, and we only teach don't know, and the great question came up again. That was like the first time I'm like, okay, I got to have a great question. Got to get a great question in there somehow. But it kind of never came, right? But I kept coming. And I kept coming because I wanted to be a Buddhist, and I wanted to support the people here. So I came here to, attend retreats. I was 24 years younger. So I could sit a whole day retreats, and I could go do 3-day summer kill train. I could do Young Men Jung Jins for a weekend, and so on and so forth. But that is more difficult now, but I keep coming back. Over the years, I've tried to help people in terms of fixing things around the Zen Center. If something's broken, I try to fix it and stuff like that. But I've never really been good at the Zen part of it. Like I said, my meditation isn't very good. For 25 minutes of sitting, I think I'm maybe meditating for 5 minutes at the most, where I recognize that I drifted off and I bring myself back. Like I said, I don't chant very well. I don't give meditation instruction very well. All the Zen stuff, I don't do very well, including a Dharma talk, as you may have noticed. Add that to the bottom of the list. So to kind of start getting towards wrapping this up, because I'm running out of time, I keep coming, because you don't have to be perfect to be a Zen student. You can really suck at Zen. But as long as you keep coming back, that's the main point. And I'm sure Jose or Zen Master Tan Gong will be able to answer your questions. I just kind of want to just conclude with a statement on, what I hope to achieve by keep coming to the Zen Center. I would like to retire from my job, and I'd like to work here as a maintenance guy. That's my goal. Maybe not every minute of every day, but to come as often as I can and just be the guy that, the toilet needs cleaning or fixing or so on and so forth. So I want to enable other people to come here, because it is a great practice. As a Buddhist, and versus a Zen student, as a Buddhist, I hope to die chanting Kwan Seum Bosa chanting. I don't want to die in my sleep. I want to be fully awake, and I want to be doing Kwan Seum Bosa chanting on that last breath. As a Zen student, I'm still looking for that great question. And if I had to pick one at gunpoint, I think my great question is, how can I help you? So that's kind of the end of my Dharma talk, but I just want to point out one additional teaching. The additional teaching was I printed out my notes. I have to have notes, otherwise I'd be off in the weeds. And I printed it, and as I was running out of the house this morning, I said, Trish, can you grab my notes off the printer? She did. She folded them up really nice. I got here and realized, shit, there's only 2 pages. There's the whole section in the middle missing. She must have dropped it. Guarantee she must have dropped it, or something's wrong. I'm all kinds of pissed off. What am I going to do? Guess where the other missing page is? We have a new printer, and it looks like it prints on both sides of the page. So I got to go home and apologize to my wife for all the things I was thinking about it. Thank you.
Thank you for your talk. Thank you for making us laugh. That's always a good thing. Laughter is always a good thing. Take 2 now in front of the microphone. Thank you, Gary, for your talk. And it's good to know that we have a goal in common. I also want to retire so I can spend more time here. Having 2 jobs sometimes is a little difficult. So any questions on Be careful what you wish for, because it keeps coming back. And about paying attention, yeah? Two-sided versus one-sided, yeah?
First, I want to thank Gary for his talk, and also he does everything that I've seen him try to fix, all the machinery and everything. He's always managed to fix it. I've always wondered about that. They're all from electricians to mechanic to everything he's been able to deal with. So it's been really nice, and thank you for that. But my question I have today is that Gary did talk about this keeping a question, and for me, keeping a question has always been important, but sometimes it's not there. And so there are two things: is what am I? And then Zen Master Song Young talks about what is this. And so I was wondering if you could talk about those two things.
Yes. So the question is about the great question. And the great question is something that raises some type of doubt inside you. Yeah. And that's something particular to Zen. Yeah. When you start and go to interviews, we have some questions. When you're born, where do you come from? Yeah. I mean, you can go through some answers and stuff, but then you hit this point. Hitting that point is part of that great question. Yeah. When you die, where do you go? What is this? Is another way of asking that question. What am I? Yeah. We always try to find the meaning of life. What is life about? Yeah. So those questions that stop you in your tracks, if you're sincere with the question, then that puts you in that place that Zen Master Sun called don't know. And don't know brings you to the before thinking. No words, no name, no form, no speech. So all these are techniques that are pointing to that place. And that is Zen. Zen is very simple. Very, very simple. There's nothing to teach. But we talk a lot. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of stuff. It's just ways of grabbing our attention. I mentioned before sometimes the thing about language. You hear a phrase. You hear something. There's a lot of stories like that in Zen. The six patriarchs were walking down the street. There was a monk chanting, and he heard a line from the Diamond Sutra. We had the same experience. You may come to the Zen Center and you heard something, or you read something. You saw a video, and there's just a little line there. It's like, oh, wow. He was talking about, going through things, and then chapter in Buddhism really resonated, and he read the whole chapter, word by word. Yeah. So all these things are ways of grabbing us. Yeah. So standard questions as Kuan Yin Popsanin mentioned, what is this? What am I? But the other thing that, at least in this school, it's something that always attracted me, is what do we do with that? If you get to that point, and if you practice, maybe you develop a little wisdom, what do you do with that? Yeah. So that changes the game from trying to find the meaning of life to what is the purpose of life. I always mention the question that Zen Master Dae Kwang asked me at the beginning when I started studying. You heard me say that before. Why do you eat every day? If you find the answer to that, apart from all the because I'm hungry, because blah, 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 then you find your direction. Then you find the purpose of life. And for me, finding the purpose of life sometimes is a little more interesting than finding the meaning. Because trying to find the meaning sometimes gets you. Yeah. So what is this? points to, as Gary mentioned, this moment. What is this? Another way of asking that, and we ask that a lot here. What are you doing right now? You hear that from the teachers and stuff. What are you doing right now? Yeah. So if I ask you, what are you doing right now? Yeah. Too much Zen. Yeah. He's been pre-programmed. Yeah, listening to you. So when we ask that question, it's a way of, and we get into this philosophical stuff maybe, but it's just that simple. Yeah, I'm listening to you right now, that's it. It's that simple. And as we always say, we don't believe it, because we always think that there is something else. And perhaps it's part of that trying to find the meaning of life, yeah. So, the great question is no question. Yeah. Just doing it. That's the other slogan we use here in the Quantum School of Zen. And when you're just doing it, then there is no making, there is no holding, there is no attaching, you're just doing it. Yeah. Gary alluded to that. And that's a very nice formula. Don't make, don't hold, don't attach. If you sit in meditation, we had a one-day retreat yesterday, and we talked about that. If you sit in meditation, sometimes even if you sit, the evening practice, you see stuff happening in your mind. Yeah? You see your likes, your dislikes, the past, the future, all that. And you must start making stuff. It's an idea that you like. And, yeah. And then at some point, if you're not paying attention and you let it go too far, then you start holding things. Yeah. And if you start holding things at some point, then you become attached to that. And then, you may create suffering for yourself and for others. So that's a very interesting formula. Don't make. Yeah? If it appears, oh, okay. We were talking about that yesterday at the retreat we had at the monastery. Beautiful day. The wind, the autumn wind through the leaves. Few people commenting about that. But then at some point in the afternoon, there was a blower, because that's also a sound of the fall. Yeah. And of course, in your mind, it's like, why do we have to have that sound? We're in a peaceful environment here up in the hill in the monastery. But it's just that. No. Someone is blowing leaves. Yeah, that's what happens in the fall. But if you start making stuff, I like the wind, I don't like the sound, that's going to distract me from my meditation, blah, 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 and then you start holding to that. There may be a point that you just want to get up and try to find that person, because how inconsiderate that person is. Don't they know that we're having a retreat here? Yeah. Yeah, yes. We understand that. Some of you are smiling. Yeah, that's what it is. But we do it all the time. We do it all the time. And one of the reasons we practice, and we ask this question, what is this? What is this disappearing? What is this I'm making? Okay? Oh, okay. This is the other piece of something. Put it down. Making, put it down. Making stuff, put it down. Yeah. But it takes some time to see those things, At the beginning, it's just those nice formulas and things, slogans. But if you come here for a while, then they start making sense, because it's your experience. It's your experience. For all you know, I can just be BSing you. But until you make it yours, then it doesn't mean much. Yeah. But it can be like the sixth patriarch. It may grab you, but after it grabs you, you have to do something, like he did. He dropped everything and went to find a teacher, to find a Buddhist temple. Maybe, I don't know, maybe run around to checking the place out, first. Yeah, good. Any other questions?
All right. First and foremost, Gary, I'd like to disagree with you. I always love your talks and always appreciate the laughs and the wisdom in them. So my question is, I tend to be a fixer. I like to, and not fixing in the Gary way where I'm fixing, mechanical things necessarily, but fixer in the sense of when something isn't going right or, like emotional disagreements or whatever, like I tend to want to always have things be right and, everyone be in harmony and all of these things. However, I've been working on that and trying to let go, but I realize that, while sometimes I'm not vocal about it or I'm not outwardly trying to fix it, I'm still holding some of that and there's still tension there because it's I'm trying to not get involved and not try and control everything outwardly, but inwardly I feel like I'm not ready to let go of the fact that everything can't be in harmony. So I guess my question is obviously looking at that is something that I am constantly doing, and today was one of those times I just had this tension feeling coming up and I had to look at that. But I guess my question is just, when something's kind of ingrained in you in that way, that's where you gravitate to, how do you kind of work with that and dissolve some of that?
Thanks for the question. So, question is related to once you have these ingrained patterns in you that you see and you tend to hold that. Like you're a fixer, you want to fix stuff. And we see it, what to do with that. Yeah? Try to do totally the opposite, even if it goes against your, That's, after you have some practice, that's a place to start. So we're going to help. You're already seeing that, But those are patterns and habits that we have that take some time to work. And we all have things that we work on, It's funny, I was watching a Dharma talk by Zen Master Dae Kwang, and someone asked him a question about jealousy. And it's interesting to say, I don't think jealousy was a problem for me. Other things were problems. And you can relate to that, There's some things that you have to work on more than others. Yeah? But for you, you're already seeing that. Yeah? And jokingly, but trying to do the opposite in a way, it's okay. Because our natural tendency is to do that. Can we see it enough and put some energy, at least, and try not to do it? So when we sit retreat, that happens a lot because you're in silence, you have all these constraints, so to speak. But it happens a lot. You may be sitting right next to someone, you may want to fix the bowl and the spoon because it's not at the right angle or something, But you do it, And that's part of that together action. So together action is annoying, but at the same time, all this is annoying because all these things happen. But if you have some type of background, by that I mean some teaching, some frame of reference that can help you see that, then other actions are possible. Emphasis on possible. No? So that will be one recommendation. Yeah. Or, as sometimes we say, sit with that. But sit with that means truly sitting, sitting in meditation, seeing that phenomena happen in you. Where does that come from? What is this? What is the story behind that? What is the opinion behind that? Because all the emotions behind that, there's always a story, a thought, a story that gets triggered. For those of you who have kids and been around little kids, you may remember when they're little and they do something, they fall or something, then they're just in a shock, waiting to see what the adults do. Yeah. And then if you react in a certain way, they start crying. Yeah. So they learn that. You don't remember that when you're 30, 40, 50 years old, but something happened, you may cry. And it could be related to that. So behind all these emotions, there's always that stuff. So asking what is this, sometimes it's part of that. So sitting with that is like seeing that. Yeah. And I agree. Gary is very humble. Very, very humble. So thank you for all you do. And I like the new statues now. There's a different pose.
Yeah.
You got a new mold or something?
Yeah, different thing.
Yeah. Other questions? Yes.
On the subject of attachment, I went through a breakup recently, and I still care about her a lot, and I miss her, and I guess it's not really a question, just I was wondering if you have any words of wisdom for thinking about the grief and also like dealing with the grief.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. Yeah, breakups are difficult. Yeah. A lot of grace songs have been written about it. Yeah. A lot of blues songs have been written about it. And you listen to those, even if you're in a stable relationship or no relationship, like, oh, they touch you. Yeah, just grieve. Yeah. Just grieve. In that talk I was watching from the Zen Master Dae Kwang, talking about jealousy and all that. That's sort of related to relationships. He mentions, Zen means to be natural. Zen means to be natural. One of the things that, I observe, especially in myself, when I started all this spiritual practice, is this separation, feelings are, and maybe it's the Catholic background, feelings are not spiritual, and you have to, spirituality is something else, above stuff. Yeah? But you're human, Being human, being natural is you break up, you cry. You love that person, you miss her a lot, Like that song, there is always something to remind me. Yeah. And it's like that, and you hear that, and with time it hurts less. You won't forget her, but it's a process. But sometimes we think, oh, well, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Zen person that shouldn't feel anything. Yeah. But part of that is also observing that process until it's like, okay, yeah. Boom. And that's the part about the attachment. We can get too attached also to the grief or to anything. We humans get attached to anything. So we can get too attached to that. And then, that can create suffering for you and for other people. But right now, just grieve. Listen to a lot of blues. If you like music, that's part of it.
Further on down the road by Eric Clapton.
Yeah. And get a little help from your friends. That's another song, too. So, yeah, that's what it is. Be natural. Zen means to be natural. So, it's a nice teaching. We tend to forget that.
Okay, so I have a follow-up now. So you talked about putting it down, but then you're also talking about kind of observing and staying with the feelings or emotions that are coming up. So which is it, and when do you put it down, and when do you observe it?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are you doing right now, Eva? There you go. And you're like, exactly. Yeah. That's life. That's a paradox. Yeah, life is a paradox. Yeah. Yeah. At some point we have to put it down, but sometimes, it's hard to do it. Yeah. And we talk about attachment. Oh, we get this idea again of not having attachments and all that. But attachments mean no attachment. Sometimes we confuse the opposite of attachment as being detached. No, it's not that. That's not being natural. It's no attachment. So, in part of that paradox is seeing the process of, what needs some work, what really has a hold on me, and why. What is this? And some things. For those of you who do Kongan practice, that's interesting because you get to see that sometimes. People go through similar koans. And for some of us, some koans really take a long time. And for another person, that koan will be absolutely no problem. You see it right away, boom. But some may take years. All of us, including all the Zen masters in the school. It's just part of that. And part of that interesting process of the koan is seeing that. Okay, why is it that some things are like, no problem, and some things, really grab you and don't let you go. I remember working on one that took me a while. And the Zen master back there will jokingly say, "Ha ha, the math is wrong." And I'm a math person, so. Yeah, but for some reason, that took a while, So it's part of seeing that. It's not also being comfortable with that paradox of the unknown, But if we bring ourselves to what we're doing, then the whole in the making and the generation of attachment is a little less. And that's why we keep saying to ourselves and to all of you the same thing, because we tend to forget. If you're in that moment, then there's just that. Not even an explanation. But we do sit with it, and at some point. But the beauty of that is to be able to see it. Again, sometimes, we think of meditation, we think we're going to, and then at some point, maybe a few months after you start, maybe a year or so, things are really good. You're like, okay, this stuff is not for me, really. No, you're now finally paying attention to all this stuff. Things are being dislodged in a way. You're burning your karma in a way, to use a phrase like we used to. So don't get discouraged by that. See it. But keep doing it. Keep practicing. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Not something that happens like this. It's that constancy of the practice that is needed. And you all know that. So, just repeating the same things. But it's very helpful for all of us, including us, to have that reminder of what we had to do. And also the direction. Why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? I'm going to end with, I just get sometimes the magazine from the Brigham and Women's Hospital. And you have those magazines, and sometimes they interview someone, or a nurse, a doctor, or whatever. And they interview the person, she's the chair of the radiology department or something. And they ask her a question about bravery. Bravery. We call it courage. It was very interesting, her answer. Yeah. She said, well, bravery for me means that I have to keep reminding myself that what I do is for the service of others. That's bodhisattva action right there. Yeah? That's very interesting. So for this person to be courageous is just to have the direction clear. Yeah? To have the direction clear. So bravery is to constantly remind myself that what I do is for the service of others. Well, that's that profession of that person. But it's interesting. You see, I'm so happy that that person, that she's the head of that department, because hopefully she get to infuse that in all the people working in that department. That's it. That's simple. You know? That's simple. So it's not, all the stuff that's saying is just that, being natural. We have all this stuff, but that comes from anywhere. One of the vows that we recite says, the teachings are infinite. I vow to learn them all. And that's it, teaching right there. Thank you all for coming, for your constancy to practice. May all of you be happy. May all of you be free from suffering and continue to practice, even if it's a little bit every day.
Thank you both for your talks today. Just a couple announcements to go ahead and wind us down. First, our next upcoming retreat is going to be a 2-day Youngman Jinjin with Dennis Jito Popsanim, and that'll be November 2nd to November 3rd. We encourage you to stay both nights, or both days if possible, and if you do, accommodation will be provided here for you at the Zen Center. Otherwise, if you're able to do just one day, that's also perfectly acceptable. Just come practice, come to retreats, no problem. We'll be having a precept ceremony coming up, and this is going to be Buddha's Enlightenment Day on Saturday, December 7th. So precepts are a way to kind of affirm your commitment and give yourself over to the practice a little bit more in our particular style. So if this is something you're interested in, you can come speak to Kwan Hang Sanim or anyone here wearing long robes. The requirement is that you've done at least 4 days of retreat and that you've spoken to either Zen Master Tan Gong or Kwan Hang Sanim Jito Popsanim. So if you are interested in taking precepts and need to get some retreat days in, come join us for the one with Dennis in November. We're continuing our Dharma school. This is for ages 6 through 12 every other week, and the next one is going to be on October 6th. In addition, we're going to have a couple other things coming up, including a town hall, a Zen's giving dinner. We don't give thanks anymore, we give Zen. And a volunteer appreciation day in November. So please check the ads on the table out front, subscribe to the newsletter, or follow us on social media to stay up to date on everything that's going on at Providence Zen Center. Oh boy, that's a great line. 2 more things to close out. One, this is the last week of the farm stand, so we are closing out the garden, and there are some pumpkins out there, so please go over, take a look. There's lots of plenty, probably extra vegetables, so you might be able to get some good deals for yourself today.
We're having a Christian Buddhist retreat on Saturday, November 16, with Sister Madeleine. Sister Madeleine is a Dominican sister, and she's been practicing Zen for a long time. She's a student of Father Han. She's a sensei. So she's great. So we'll be here, 1-day retreat. Thank you.
And then also, if we want to go down the list of retreats, there's going to be another one, the 7-day with Zen Master Song Hyung, December 8th through the 14th as well. We have a very, very, very long list here, so I'm trying to be selective. We're also going to be having an invasive species removal Sangha workday on October 12th. I hope you are all taking notes. This is a lot of information, in addition to volunteers as well. Last and not least, practice is always free. Streaming and heating, which will be kicking in soon since we're going into winter, is not. So if you'd like to help support us, we do gratefully accept donations and rely on them for 30 to 40% of keeping this space and these doors open so everyone can come access this teaching and practice for free. So please consider donating generously. I don't know if we're going to be doing a fundraising campaign this year. I haven't heard anything yet, but we might, so keep an eye out for that. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
I'd like to just take like 10 seconds to embarrass Zen Master Dae Kwang just a little bit more. When I talked about that, going for that first Kangan interview, I had never met him before, so I expected to walk into a room to see an old, wrinkly Asian guy with a beard and all that stuff. And I walked in and saw the whitest guy you could possibly imagine from Nebraska. So all great Zen masters come from Nebraska.
The light blue ones, and you take the oddballs. Thank you.
I went to outside. They'll be right out in the morning. I haven't been back since I left. Yep.
That's Bellevue has the Missouri River.
Yes. And a Native American population.
Well, maybe this is